So I am here with Amy Boncella, who is a postdoc with the Morrison Research Group, which is the only green lab on campus currently.
That I know of that has gone through the certification.
So just a couple more questions. First of all, when you were deciding to join this program, what was really like the big motivation, the biggest factor that led to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the whole Green Lab certification kind of started as a passion project of mine about a year ago. And it's just when I realized that even though I think I lead a pretty sustainable, environmentally friendly life normally, working in a lab is by far the biggest environmental footprint that I have. And so just looking at some of the statistics about how much labs consume energy-wise and water-wise and how much waste they generate was a huge motivator for trying to pursue the Green Lab certification, which just seemed like a great way to sort of educate everyone in the lab about how to be greener. And also it just provides sort of a metric to see how you've improved and changed. So it's very motivating.
So along with that, when you were first implementing all of the different procedures and stuff, what was the hardest, or what is the hardest to keep up or implement?
That's a really good question. I would say things that require changing a habit is the hardest thing. So sometimes even I think we're pretty good about turning lights off and keeping fume hood sashes closed, but even those are things we still slip up on, I think, because it's just really easy to forget. Yeah, sometimes those things I see we've slipped up a bit on. Another is I started a freezer inventory, which I think is a really good thing. So when you're in really, really cold storage, it's good to know everything that's there and where it is so you don't spend time with the door open rummaging things around. And so that has been harder to upkeep just because everyone has to remember every time they go in for a sample to change the inventory or anytime they add something. So that's been kind of a challenge too, but I think we do pretty well.
Is your freezer ever empty?
So it's not currently. At this point we have a lot of stuff in it.
So did you have a conversation with the other people in the lab when you were first starting the program?
Yes. So I basically educated myself a lot about the Green Lab certification process. I became what's called a Green Labs ambassador, where you can take this short sort of course. It's 3 or 4 15-minute videos that you watch and take a little quiz, and then they say that you're a Green Lab ambassador and can educate people. So I did that and just sort of started the conversation with the group. We've had a couple of group meetings about specifically about sustainability, and these are places where anyone can just make suggestions about things that we could potentially change or be better on. So yeah, I think that's been a really important piece of this too, is that meeting periodically and discussing what we're doing.
Are there any dissenting voices to adopting the Green Lab program?
No, actually, I feel like we've been really lucky that everyone's been super on board and really excited about this initiative. So fortunately, I haven't had to deal with that obstacle.
Awesome. So, if there was any overhead cost, what was the overhead cost like for kind of retrofitting your lab?
Really not much. I mean, we didn't do anything in terms of energy type stuff. There's a lot of things we can't do. We can't change our bulbs to LED. We can't really meter our equipment very well. That's stuff that would have to come from higher up at mines to be able to implement some serious infrastructure changes. I think the biggest thing we did is we installed aerators on the faucets. We did 3 of them, and I think that was maybe $30 for 3 of them. But that's really the only like infrastructure type change that I think we've really paid for. So.
Yeah. So the cost to you is pretty low. It
has been very low. The certification process is, I think, $175. So that was probably the biggest cost. But you get good feedback and suggestions from them. They continue to be a good resource. So I think that was worth it.
And finally, how often do you catch yourself like almost leaving a sash open, or walking out without turning the lights off, or not unplugging things?
Only once in a while. We do pretty well. I don't know, maybe once a week that I'm like, oh, I gotta do that. So I think, we've had this implemented since February, so it improves with time also, as we're just able to implement our habits better.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. That's really all of my questions.
Great, thank you.